Hello. Hopefully this is working. Almost hit the wrong button. It's loading. All right. We're here. Shooting the breeze number 40. Nope. Number 33. The aftermath of WrestleMania number 40. That's why I said 40 there. I haven't streamed in a hot minute, so that is why we're on 2K. Now, you're probably wondering, like, you're talking about WrestleMania, you're playing NBA. I will be discussing some NBA related things towards the end of the video, so that's hilarious that New Legacy Inc. is literally streaming at the same time now. Am I just in this early to watch it? Kidding. Anyways, I'll talk about some NBA related stuff, but a good chunk of this will be talking about WrestleMania 40. This is not going to be a full depth review. I don't watch, besides Ring of Honor, wrestling shows to like review them. Because if I did that, it kind of would be on a different scale. And I don't want to take notes. I want to watch the shows to enjoy them. When I watch ROH, I take notes to review them. So also, it's a new season of my team. My team. I guess in general on 2K, but I mainly play my team. I want to play some triple threats, so that is also why we're here. So, getting my thoughts off about WrestleMania 4. Here's what the triple threat team's looking like at the moment. I also forgot to do this, but I'm going to do it now. Galaxy Opal LeBron, that you have to get the 99 stars on Domination. Steve Nash, that I got to have a pack. And then the free Galaxy Opal Marc Gasol. Congrats to Marc Gasol on the jersey retirement. But I meant to do this so y'all could see it live and in person. Also, another reason I'm streaming is I'm going to stream Supersonics after this, and I wanted to get a little bit of a warm up. Y'all don't care. You want to know about WrestleMania 40. So I'm trying to write down what times I'll talk about things. That way I could put it. So, night one. Rhea Ripley defeated Becky Lynch in the opening contest. I'll say I predicted Becky Lynch to win. And I knew from like the moment I predicted that Rhea Ripley was going to win. I felt that I thought way in advance, like last year, this is more than likely the match we're going to get at WrestleMania 40. And I was like, then I was thinking Becky was going to win. And I was just like, I think it's a year in the making. But she did not win. She lost. Rhea Ripley won in a very good matchup. So there's that. A-Town Down Under captured the SmackDown Tag Team titles, and the Awesome Truth captured the Raw Tag Team titles in the 6-team ladder match, which hilariously, I had two chances to predict winners, and I got them both wrong because I picked DIY and the New Catch Republic. I was not going to pick A-Town Down Under. It's still funny that that's their tag name because I literally did not hear it until I was writing notes down for Mania. Then Mania came up. They said that. Okay, that's how we're playing this. So there's that. But it's just interesting now that the tag team division has changed because now we have two sets of tag titles again. And it's mainly what teams that we've been seeing consistently for a hot minute. And the Judgment Day, might be taking a break from the tag team. I would have hopefully they're taking a break after the tag team division, especially what happened on night 2 that we'll cover in a minute as well. But good to see two sets of champions. And it does suck that the main thing I remember from this match is the referee telling Damian Priest, get off of that ladder, get off that ladder. Everybody saw that it was breaking, I guess, except for him. So glad that nothing dangerous happened there. Bro, we getting clamped. Like, I thought I was going to jam that. Obviously, I did not. Rey Mysterio and Andrade defeated Dominic Mysterio and Santos Escobar. Now, in my predictions video, I was like, I would love to see. I'm really interested in seeing this Rey Mysterio and Dragon Lee tag team. And I was mainly saying, hopefully Dragon Lee doesn't turn on him. And I'd like to see them team in the future. Doesn't even get the chance to team with him. So hopefully WWE makes it up to Dragon Lee because I was really looking forward to that. I guess it's definitely a storyline thing, but it's good to see Andrade get his WrestleMania spotlight. Now, here is the conflicting part. And the main part is I don't feel like looking it up. He tweeted that this was his first WrestleMania match. And if I remember correctly, his first Mania first chance to be on Mania, because he was in NXT, got called up in 2018. So that would have been after Mania 34. This is live thinking, not using Google. So his first Mania would have been 35. There was a lot of matches on that. I know he was feuding with Ray a lot during that, but Ray faced Samoa Joe. WrestleMania in 2020, the pandemic one, he was supposed to be in a tag match. Ooh, who was his tag partner? With Angel Garza, but he got hurt and he got replaced by Austin Theory. But I'm fairly certain on commentary, Michael Cole's like, oh, this is his second. So, good for Andrade, who's been in WWE for a hot minute and just recently came back. Obviously, he's been in AEW, but just came back. Good for him to get a Mania match, especially with somebody he has a lot of history with Rey Mysterio. But they defeated Santos Escobar and Dominic Mysterio. Lane Johnson and, more importantly, Jason Kelsey came out. And I feel like I thought that was going to get a way, way bigger reaction than it did, and it didn't. It's also weird that, like, Jason Kelsey's, like, main interaction, I guess main contact in WWE is Rey Mysterio, but, you know, just proves that you don't really know these people. But I didn't really have any complaints with this. I spent a lot of time talking about this match. I thought he was ooping that. The fact that he shot that, I think it also got deflected, was a very interesting choice. We're also on the easy mode that Westside has. It's not really. I can't set the sentence for triple threat, but it makes it easier for me to discuss things. The double crossbody that Andrade and Ray hit was very clean, and I feel like it's probably not the first time I've seen it, but it is very noticeable in that moment. Because there's a WrestleMania. Next match. Probably I guess the easiest way to put it, the worst thing to come from this Mania. It is the glaring, like, oh boy, of this Mania. Jey Uso defeated Jimmy Uso. Now, you see Mark Gasol on the court right now. During the course of this match, the Mark Gasol jersey retirement had started, so I was going back and forth between it. So I can't fairly judge this matchup. I have not seen many people say it was a good match. I've not seen any. I don't think I've seen anybody say anything good about this match. And I like both competitors. I was really looking for this match. I put it in the thumbnail of my video. I have absolutely no clue what happened. Like, how this got so much negativity and just the whole whole match, just the whole thing. I will say, like I said, I wasn't giving it 100% attention. But when I was paying attention to it, I'm like, he just super kicked him. He just super kicked him. I could have thought I was seeing the same thing over and over again. So it definitely sucks that this matchup that we've been anticipating for such a long time, that's the reaction that we've had to have towards it. I don't really know a way that it could have went better. And again, I'm trying to be positive here. More than likely at some point, we will get a rematch. There's no way that it could be worse than this match. And hopefully that match has a stipulation, the rematch. So at least I'm trying to look at it positive, but I can't really say any good about it. And that sucks. And I will say the moment they had on night 2, I'm not going to say it made up for it, but at least I'm not looking at, I'll get to it when we get to it on night 2. Jade Cargill, Bianca Belair, and Naomi defeated Damage Control in a very good moment. That was a big moment for all three of those women. Now we get to the tearjerker one. Sami Zayn defeated Gunther to become the Intercontinental Champion. Y'all know, or if y'all don't know, some of y'all might not, I love Gunther. I really, really wanted him to retain. I feel like I'm the only person that will outright say that. And I'm not going to say that it ruined the rating of the match or the feeling of the match. Sami Zayn hitting a brain buster was nuts, and it kind of was a fitting end, in like, because it's the first time we've seen that in WWE, and it was a big moment. It wasn't expected, and a rightful moment and way to end Gunther's undefeated streak, because that's the main thing that I take away from this IC title run. Is like, he's been undefeated. Nobody's been able to beat him. Now, again, me being the negative person, I try to be positive. I'm gonna be negative about this one, but it's just like, I wanted Gunther to retain, to keep his streak, but I understand that a lot of people are ready for a new Intercontinental Champion. So, and now we can move on a different direction with the Intercontinental Champion. And there's no way that Gunther's like going to fall off. He's either going to stay on the same level, which I hope on everything that's not the case, or move on to something bigger. And there's a lot of new opportunities for him to do that. So I'm looking at it from that perspective. Probably, definitely the best match at night one. Might be the best match of Mania in general, however you look at it. I would have to watch it again because I was definitely looking at it from a negative light with Gunther losing. But I had, I like Sami Zayn. I like Gunther a lot more, though, is the moral of that story. But good for Sami. Good that we have a new Intercontinental Champion. We already have an Intercontinental title match announced for next week's Raw. Sami Zayn versus Chad Gable. Night one main event. Roman Reigns and The Rock defeated Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins. Now, for some reason, people are like, oh, this show's going to end early. I don't know why people weren't expecting not only like 4 men to have but these are like 4 extravagant entrances that these men have. I don't know why people were expecting these entrances to this not to be as long as it was. Maybe it's because we haven't seen The Rock compete in such a long time and that we're going to see 2 of these guys compete against each other again the next night. I didn't really have any problems with it. I know a lot of people did, but to be fair, a lot of people were doing a lot this WrestleMania weekend. There's a lot going on. There's NXT, ROH, which I also forgot to mention off the top. I'm not going to talk about anything ROH related from Supercard of Honor because I'll discuss that on this week's ROH review. I should mention that from the very top. I didn't really have any problems with this match. Now, this is 2 things. Thing 1, this is one thing that I love that I've seen a lot of people laugh at or why is this happening? I love that The Rock has his own championship now. Because now the championship was presented to him at the Hall of Fame. Now, this is not going to be 100% a true source, but it's mainly going to be the premise. In the Attitude Era, there's a set of championship toy belts that came out and have been re-released and used in video games because this is around the era when Stone Cold made the Smoke and Skull title. I know, obviously, Stone Cold had the Smoke and Skull title. I feel there was a custom-made one for The Undertaker, and this one was definite because, I'm talking about it now, was a Rock custom-made title. Now, again, like I said, bro, I didn't even push a button I found him. It's been used in several video games, and more than recently in the Series 100 WWE Elite figure line, he comes with this belt. But to my knowledge, it was never used on TV. And I feel it would have made sense because Stone Cold had the Smoke and Skull title, let The Rock have his own championship, and also one of The Rock's nicknames is the People's Champion. So it would have made sense for him to have it. So 20 plus years later, again, it's not the exact same title, but the main premise is there because both have a big Brahma Bull on the front is very similar. So for 20 years later to get that fulfilled, I love it. And it makes him look more like a final boss because he has a championship that down the line he might defend. Probably not, because it's kind of like the $1 million title. Somebody would probably want it, WWE Superstar-wise, competing for it, but that's a different discussion for another day. So, like I said, I love it. That's why it's more than likely going to be in the thumbnail of this video because I just love the whole premise of it. Even though a lot of people are kind of joking on it, but I understand. The match, like I said, I didn't really have any complaints. Now, I don't think it topped. Again, here's the other thing that I probably should wait to the very end to say, but I'll say it now. WWE is promoting this, and a lot of people are thinking this. When I say a lot of people, I'm not naming names because I don't really have any exact names. It's just the general audience are saying this is the biggest, the best WrestleMania of all time. I just can't say that outright. I would have to wait a while for that. But if you were to ask me that right now, my answer would consistently change. I think if you ask me 5 days out of the week, I'd probably say WrestleMania X7. If you were asking me the other 2, I'd probably say WrestleMania 19, 21. 34, I have a soft spot. I feel 34 is very good. Terrible. Not as good of an ending. But, you would have to ask me this a lot later. I can't say this right now. But like I said, WWE now saying this is the biggest, best tag team match. I'd have to like really think about that. And again, I was trying to compare it to last year's match. So now we're on to night 2. Night 2 was extremely good. I don't think there's any real complaints I could have. Or night 1, obviously, a lot of people were complaining about the Usos match. Understandable. But night 2, oh boy. We kicked it off with Drew McIntyre defeating Seth Rollins, and we have a new world champion. Congrats to Seth. Seth, I was going to say the complete opposite of what I wanted to say. But Seth's the first world champion. The reign came to an end. Very good reign. I feel bad for Seth because essentially all WrestleMania weekend he got his ass kicked. And this is probably the biggest ass kicking out of all of them. But it was a big moment getting Drew. He had his big moment that he wanted, and it lasted all of 5 minutes. Now, CM Punk, who was on commentary, and CM Punk we have seen a lot the past. He was on, so he was on 2 weeks ago on Raw. He wasn't even on Raw last week, but he had the Ariel Helwani interview that I'm not going to discuss because obviously that was a week ago, and there's a great chance that I might have to talk about it next week depending on how things go. Check out AEW Dynamite for that. But CM Punk we've seen a lot because he was at the Hall of Fame, and then that morning there was the Mattel panel that revealed some CM Punk figures coming out. It was also weird that a lot of the figures that they showed like the basic figures they showed or the main event line, almost all of them I'm pretty sure have came out, and only like 2 real new ones were like showed. But that's a topic for a different day. Anyways, but now he was on commentary. And then he attacked Drew McIntyre. Now, I'm not going to say he's fully healthy like a lot of people are. But again, he doesn't use his arm brace a lot. He even like said, yeah, sometimes I forget the arm brace. And then he immediately, at Mania, I'm not going to say immediately, but he took it off at Mania, attacked Drew McIntyre. And we had a cash-in. The second time in Mania history, had a Money in the Bank cash-in. And the second time Drew McIntyre got cashed in on. Now, you're probably like, who the hell was the first one? It was The Miz, but it was in the Thunderdome, so I don't blame you for forgetting that. But I think I'll give credit. A lot of people were saying Damian Priest, it's kind of a bad Mr. Money in the Bank, but this was an all-time moment. This was so electric, I think is a good word to describe this. It was a big moment, and a lot of people were celebrating and just excited. That was a great way to kick off WrestleMania. There's so many people and factors involved with this. Like, it was mainly 4, but it's just like, it felt like a lot more. So, I'm interested to see how a Damian Priest title run is going to be. I would have been more interested in a Drew McIntyre title run. But I think with him getting robbed of another, he got the main moment he wanted. He got the moment that he wanted, but it didn't end like he got the moment he wanted, which is winning the world title in front of everybody. It just didn't last, and it got overshadowed immediately. So now it has and gives him more reason to be pissed off and angry Drew McIntyre. Again, I would have been interested to see how a world title run came out of this and see how that went. We could get that again down the line. It also adds another factor to the CM Punk rivalry because until then, we hadn't seen CM Punk retaliate. It's mainly just been Drew McIntyre injured him. Drew McIntyre's insulted him. Punk has said very little. Again, because Drew McIntyre said so much. But now Punk retaliated, and it gives Drew McIntyre more reason to be pissed. And again, interested to see how Damian Priest's world title run is after this. So there is that. I don't know why I leaned off so much. The Pride defeated the Final Testament in a Philly street fight with Bubba Bully Ray involved. I don't really know if there's like another ECW legend that could have appeared. I can't really think of it. Oh my God, we're probably going to lose. I haven't been playing that much defense this game. It was a match. That's the best. I'm not even going to say it was a bad match. It was just, I don't really remember a lot of it besides Bubba putting the glasses on and then the table breaking. So again, it's not really a negative thing. It's kind of a funny thing looking at it now. But I don't really remember a lot about this match. Hopefully we don't have to see these two groups interact with each other again. Let's get them to do something else. Let's get the Pride in the title picture. I want to see Bobby Lashley challenging for some championship. Street Profits, there's new tag champions on the brands. Let's get them challenging A-Town Down Under. If that's the SmackDown brand, you get the point. Ugh! That's why I stayed so silent. I was concentrating on that. Ginobili has played great defense on LeBron. Can we do it again? Surprised they did not call a foul. He's going to make that. Great. LA Knight defeated AJ Styles. AJ Styles did not come out to any of his TNA theme songs. He came out to a new one. I can't even really judge it because he literally it started playing, he came out, and then he ran to the ring. So they didn't even get a good glimpse of the song, but I'm giving it a thumbs down because it wasn't his TNA songs that I wanted to hear. The match, again, another match where I don't really remember a lot of it. But LA Knight defeated AJ Styles. Again, it's kind of a, can we get these two guys? I think these two will probably have another match. I would prefer they moved on to something else. I don't know why I leaned off so much there, but I could see them doing another match. Logan Paul defeated Randy Orton and Kevin Owens in a triple threat. I ain't gonna spend much time talking about this because I don't like Logan Paul, as I've said time and time again. Bayley defeated Io Sky. Now, I had no clue that the rose plant was Bayley's finish, and she hit it, and that ended the match. I know they were saying, "Oh, this is the rose." I have no memory or knowledge of this move, so I thought she used the Bayley to Billy. I like the Bayley to Billy. It was used in the match, but it was a good match. I enjoyed it. I think I've said that about almost all these matches except for the Usos one. But now we get to the main event, the main topic. We're 20 minutes in now at the main topic. I'm also sweating like an MFer because when I film my videos, I can't have my fan or air conditioner on because it would be extremely too loud for y'all. So I do this for y'all. Cody Rhodes, Roman Reigns 2, and because the Bloodline went in night 1, this match was Bloodline rules. Now I will say this. It made for a good match, but this kind of made the Bloodline look stupid because they literally just should have been out there, and the moment Cody reversed anything from Roman, they should have went in and beat up Cody. If that made sense. Because with this being Bloodline rules, it did not really help the Bloodline, if we're just being honest. Because they didn't really come out towards the ending sequence of it. Now, again, like I said, it made for a better match and better moments, but I'm not even really complaining about it. I'm just throwing that out there logically. So there's that. Again, not a complaint, just a note. A lot of crossroads, a lot of spears, a lot of Superman punches. We got the moments. Jimmy Uso come out. Jey Uso came out to take him out. I won't lie to you. This very much felt like a WWE career mode. WWE 2K career mode match because it's just would get the spot, so-and-so would come out, we get the little different camera angles, then you got to go back to getting the spots out and more people coming out, which, again, I like that aspect of this. But Jimmy came out, Jay took him out, like I said. I'm not going to say it made up for their match, but at least they couldn't really screw that up. It gives more juice and more energy towards those two. Solo Sikoa came out. We got an almost repeat spot of his attack last year. And then we got the spear spike combo that I definitely feel they have used. But Solo Sikoa and Roman Reigns have not won a lot of tag team. I know they lost to Kevin Owens and Sammy. And then they lost to the Usos. So to have such a dominant move and not have it really be effective, it's kind of funny. Because again, Cody kicked out of this. Solo Sikoa came out. Then John Cena came out in a very good moment because if you remember last, and commentator made note, hey, last time we saw Cena, he lost to Solo Sikoa. So Cena came out, took out Solo Sikoa. Then the final boss, The Rock, came out. And he had a face-to-face with one of his Steve, why the hell were you standing there? And we got Cena Rock in a face-off. Now, a lot of people are saying, I'm not going to say a lot of people, but I did see people say oh my God, what if we get Cena Rock 3? It would be great for promos and moments, but I don't think in ring that'd be a good match in 2024 or even beyond that. That's just me. Then The Rock is beating the crap out of Cody Rhodes like he did the previous night, and we hear the Undertaker come out. Now, I look at a lot of rumors. I see a lot of rumors. There's a little Easter egg a couple of weeks ago on Raw with the truck and Cena being on it and another individual from Texas being on it that was not the Undertaker. I think almost everybody was expecting that individual to come out. I'm not going to say it hurt the overall feeling of the match. Again, it's kind of like the Gunther thing where being bias is showing. Undertaker coming out and at least it not giving a negative reaction. I'm glad that, people weren't booing because it wasn't that other individual. I'm not going to mention it. I don't know why it didn't happen. I just would have loved it. Everybody would have loved it. It would have made it 10 times better. But again, it wasn't a bad moment. The Undertaker coming out. And, this is the good thing. I didn't even push anything, and I'm going out about it. The good thing about people on Twitter is that sometimes the explanations make for better moments. I also did forget that the Shield's music hit. Now, I won't lie to you. I was one of these people that thought Dean Ambrose was going to come out. Not because, it's the Shield, that's who should come out, but mainly because Seth Rollins has been getting beat up all weekend. How does he have enough energy to come out in the Shield gear? And then he did, and again, got beat up like he did all weekend. So, I'll admit, I did think Dean Ambrose was coming out. I won't lie to you. But The Undertaker came out. Again, this is another thing. This is where I was getting at with the Twitter explanations. It's like, it made sense for The Undertaker to come out because it's WrestleMania. He has the biggest track record at WrestleMania, obviously with the streak. And his 2 losses at Mania came from Roman Reigns and Paul Heyman. Now, obviously, Paul Heyman didn't pin him 1, 2, 3, but he advocated the guy that did. So, again, it kind of was an extra factor. Let me get some revenge on those 2. Is that the exact reason he came out? No. Will we ever get an explanation on why he came out? Probably not. But we don't. It's not really that needed. It made for a good moment. And then Cody hit several crossroads, and we're now in a new era that we had hearing about over and over again. And the guy that's going to lead us there is the new undisputed WWE Universal Champion Cody Rhodes. Now, the couple tonight on Raw, I'm filming this after Raw. They didn't say Universal Championship, but they kept saying undisputed WWE Championship, definitely. So there's that factor. So Roman Reigns, after 1,356, I know it was at least 1,300. It was a lot of freaking days as champion. Is not champion anymore. Cody Rhodes is. He finished the story, all these cliches. Like I said, I thank Twitter because I also forgot to mention that he hit Seth with the chair, which, again, the reason I'm thanking Twitter is just like they were the ones that like explained it and like put it into a bigger picture that Roman still isn't over the Shield loss and breakup from Seth, and he went after Seth, and one of the biggest moments of his career that led to probably the biggest loss of his career now, you could say, is still the Shield breakup. And again, make it into an even bigger picture, and it's something that I'll talk about again in a second, Seth and Roman. When those two had the match at the Royal Rumble and Seth came out in the Shield gear and we had the terrible finish. Now, I'm not giving them like credit that they like knew then, but it adds a little bit of an extra factor to it. But like that match had a terrible ending. It ended with Roman getting DQ and Seth winning. But that's because, again, this bigger picture I'm talking about, Roman's still not over how the Shield, like Seth turned his back on the Shield. And it's all leading back to the Shield. Now, again, WWE down the line might detail on this. My issue with it is pretty glaring. Dean Ambrose ain't in the damn company anymore. It's going to be a long time, if ever, we see Dean Ambrose back in the company. So I don't like the story of the Shield being told without Dean Ambrose. One day, it might happen with Ambrose there. And again, I was thinking this night one. This is the closest we got to the Shield triple threat at WrestleMania. Having to throw in The Rock and Cody Rhodes into it. But I love the Shield as well, so that's why I keep harping and talking on it. But now, getting to Cody Rhodes. Glad he's world champion. I made last year's Shooting the Breeze Aftermath of WrestleMania 39 video mainly worried. I'm not going to say I was complaining. It sounded like I was complaining, but I was mainly worried that we're going to get to this point that we're at now, and they were going to overexpose and or ruin Cody, because I'd seen Cody get booed before in the other company, and it just like kind of ruined his mojo and run there. And I was like, I don't know how they'll keep him as relevant or hot this time, because like this time last year he was. Now I'll give them credit, he's even a bigger deal now than he was then, and it was a good decision in hindsight. Now it doesn't help that we can't really talk about a lot of what Cody Rhodes did in 2023, but again, at least now we have the moment, and now we can move on to this new era that they keep talking about. And the good thing is, I don't really know what to expect from WWE. We just had the night after Mania Raw, and again, a lot of it. Look, I was mainly saying, look, I was hoping that this is a big deal. We get lots of surprises. We didn't get any like real. We got Ilya Dragunov, Roxanne Perez, people we've seen on the main or one person who's on the main roster before, but it's just like Jay Cargill competed. John Cena appeared out of nowhere, which again might have felt like a bigger deal if we literally didn't just see him Sunday night. But it's just like it was a great episode of Raw. I don't think we're ever going to get back to the point of the night after Mania Raws with like lots of debuts, lots of returns, but we're going into this new direction we've been going in for a while. But this is kind of like the thumbnail point of it, because we have a new champion that we haven't had in 3+ years, and we don't know what he's going to do next. And it's a good thing and a bad thing. It's mainly a bad thing because we can get to we find out who / what's next and not like it. That would be the bad thing of it, but it's just like it's a good thing because now finally we're getting some change. Now there's a couple things. I don't know when we're going to see Roman again, but he has 3 big time matchups now that he still had, but after WrestleMania 40, it feels a little bit bigger. 1, him versus Cody Rhodes 3. I personally love trilogies, but in wrestling, in movies as well, even though a lot of times there's at least one movie that sucks. But in the case of but I mainly like the trilogies when it is tied 1-1. Granted, if we got to this time last year and Cody won, and we got to Cody versus Roman 2, Roman probably would have won that. That would have made that match a lot more predictable. Now, when that match would have took place, maybe in this hypothetical situation, we don't know. We really don't. But again, I'll give credit that a year later, it was a very good decision. Was it the right decision? You could debate that, but it worked out in the grand scheme of things. They got to the main thing they wanted at the end of the thing. But what I was getting at is now we're tied 1-1 in this trilogy. We've seen good blocks, Steve. We've seen Cody win. We've seen Roman wins. Who the hell wins that third matchup? Even bigger, when the hell does that third matchup take place? Now, I don't see this match happen at Mania next year. If it did, that would actually be kind of crazy. Again, it's a little bit possible. But I think the first episode of Raw on Netflix, just because it's going to be, they're going to keep throwing out this cliche, new era, but you're like, they're going to have a new audience once they go to Netflix. They're going to need like some big hook for that first episode. I think this would be that. Again, a lot of people that would be tuned into that Netflix probably knows about what's happened at WrestleMania, and this match has happened the last 2 years at Mania, the tiebreaker matchup. Again, it's just, they can do this match at any time, but it's just like, now it's the third match between the two. I want to see it. Roman and Seth. Now, I know they've had a lot of matches in the past, but the main one that sadly sticks out is the last one because the finish was so terrible. But now, because of this aftermath of this matchup, I'm more intrigued by it. And again, the main thing is, I think it's more of an even playing field where a lot of times we'd think that Roman's going to win. Now, there's a slight chance that Seth might. And then, obviously, I've been saying this one over and over again, and everybody's been Rock and Roman. Like, They tried to set it up this year. Of course, I get the 150 less. But they've been trying to set this match up almost a lot of this time. But the main thing is that we don't know who is going to be the good guy in the situation and the bad guy in the situation. Because I said they can go in the direction of Roman is mad at Rock because Roman just had this historic reign. And the first time the Rock's on his side, he loses. And then he blames the Rock. Or they could go on the side of the Rock being disappointed. And I'm putting this in. He's the final boss. I don't really know in this hierarchy if final boss is a bigger deal than the head of the table. I would say the head of the table is the bigger deal because the Rock had to acknowledge him and he did. But like the Rock could say, I'm the final boss. I can do what I want, hypothetically speaking. But it's just like this match, was always going to be a big deal, but it would be an interesting direction to see what they go, especially after Triple H said whatever Roman Reigns is going to do next is going to be. I don't know his exact quote, but he was like, Roman Reigns is going to do something that's a big deal next time around. It's going to be interesting. And I don't think it's going to be championship related because we just, moving him into a different direction. So that's a wait and see situation. Now, Raw happened. I kind of briefly went over some things. The main thing I'll talk about was the Cody and Rock segment. Now, something I will give The Rock credit for. I know he wasn't involved in this whole first 43 minutes of Raw, but since The Rock has been back, he's been in long segments. I will give him credit. When he is on TV, the time flies by. Like I said, this first segment of Raw tonight was 43 minutes. It was 43 minutes until, we got to the matches, essentially is what I'm getting at. But it's just like, he came out, gave Cody Rhodes credit, but he says that he will be back, kind of setting up that matchup, which, again, going into it, I didn't know how interested I would be into it, but now I am. And again, he was mentioning the People's Championship that I'm such a fan of. So we'll get that match at some point. But now, I don't know what the hell's next for Cody. We'll more than likely find out on SmackDown because they did advertise him and the new Women's Champion Bayley to be on SmackDown. They announced tonight and at WrestleMania that the King of the Ring tournament, King and Queen of the Ring tournament returns May 25th. That is a premium live event. And then the draft returns April 26th and 29th. Now, here's what I'll say. A, Gunther, King of the Ring. Anybody disagree? Say aye. I didn't hear anybody, so there's that. Queen of the Ring, I'd have to really think about, but I've been pushing that for a year plus now, the King of the Ring one. The draft. Last year, I made a big fantasy booking video talking about the draft. I got a lot of positive feedback on that, so I appreciate y'all for that. I'm going to try to replicate it this year. But there's a busy schedule. I don't know if I'll be able to put that into my schedule. So I'll try, because like I said, a lot of people enjoyed last year's, and I appreciate y'all for that. So we'll see what happens, but draft coverage. Here's the thing that I like, and I think, again, I was kind of questioning the draft because, A, what brand's Cody going to be on? We know the draft's at the end of the month, so he's more than likely going to appear on both brands until then, which is kind of the logical, smart thing. I think he's mainly going to be on SmackDown until the draft because set up whatever title match he has at Backlash, which I'm going to imagine that he has a title match at Backlash because we know that the number one contender for the World Championship is Jey Uso, main event Jey Uso. So that match might take place at Backlash as well. So Backlash, I believe, is May the 4th. Looks like a pretty good event. So, or it should be a big event. I was about to say it looks like a good event. They've not announced anything for it. But I was talking about the draft. Like, what happens with Cody? We'll find out April 26th and 29th. But the other complaint that I had was SmackDown, mainly, has went out of their way to sign these free agent talents. Braun Breaker, Tiffany Stratton, Naomi, Jade Cargill, Raw, CM Punk. I know they signed non-Jets, but CM Punk. It's kind of a, bailout for Raw because now they could, recap. Because, for Nick Aldis and SmackDown, they had these free agent talents for, a month, maybe even less. So, kind of, they got screwed. And I doubt that they're gonna like not be. It would make sense if they weren't eligible to be drafted. Of course, I could have got a card, but didn't. It would make sense from that standpoint because they were just like recently signed. But we'll see closer to time. But I think one of the main reasons that they do the draft is very close to the NFL draft, and they're trying to make it like, oh, this is a real sport, this is a real draft because they're talking about they're using the word ineligible, eligible. Ilya Dragunov is eligible for the draft. They're trying to make this like a real sports draft. So I appreciate that. I'm not going to complain about it. I was just questioning it. That's a different word. I don't know if y'all notice it because I've been saying that. I've been questioning things. It comes out off to some people as me complaining, but it's just me like asking questions and overthinking situations. So this is probably going to be a tough matchup because freaking Urkelu's going to be shooting the ball. Ooh. Of course. So I feel there's probably something I'm forgetting about WrestleMania related, but overall, I would give it 2 thumbs up. Is the best way I can describe the event. I don't really have anything to complain about. The only thing I could is Jimmy and Jey Uso, but I again think we're going to get a rematch at some point, and it's going to make for the rematch to be a better match. If you were to ask me, is this the best WrestleMania of all time? I'm not answering that. Y'all are going to have to give me a while. But it was definitely a very good WrestleMania and a great start to the Triple H era. Now, I said that sarcastically because they've said that so many times that I just want like definitions of like when eras are. Because like Attitude Era, you could say was 97 to 2001. 2002 to like 2008 was the Ruthless Aggression era. Since then, what the hell do you define as an era? Like 09 to 2016, I don't even really know what you call that era, to be honest. A lot of people like calling it the PG era. And then the main reason I said 2016 is because that's when they brought the brand split back. But then it's like, what do you just find like 2016 to like what time period to like, you know? So it's like the new era. What was it? New Generation era, Attitude Era, Ruthless Aggression era. You could define it. All these other ones, not really. And again, I would have said that the Paul Levesque era started last year. But again, at least we're being very positive about the on-screen duty product. Because for a long time, that wasn't the case. Now, we are. So, again, I'm going to try to do a fantasy booking for the draft, but it's not guaranteed because there's going to be a busy schedule coming up. On that busy schedule will be next week. Oh my God, I messed that up so much. Next week episode, unless I make a like impromptu episode of Shooting the Breeze between now and next episode, which should be episode 34. That will be my NBA playoff preview. And now we're off to the NBA topics in this video because it's the last week of the regular season. And right now, the playoff standings are almost perfect in my vision. Like, the way the matchups... The main point I'm trying to get is, like, I don't have a problem with any first-round matchup in the playoffs. Almost. We're almost there. So, Steve Nash. Great defense. Oh, I saw it happen. I knew he wasn't going to dunk it. So, the main thing that I'm trying to get at is, like, I really like how the standings are right now. Except for, like, one little thing. So, Timberwolves, Nuggets, and Thunder are neck and neck. I forgot to write down the amount of wins that each have, but almost every day it changes. But right now, as I'm talking, Timberwolves are 1, Nuggets are 2, Thunder are 3, Clippers are at 4, Mavericks 5, Suns at 6, Pelicans at 7, Kings at 8, Lakers, Warriors 9 and 10. Now, again, this is a better time to talk about it because now, like, top 10 teams in both conferences are play-in, playoff locked. Sadly, the Rockets couldn't make that, like, final push. It would have been interesting narrative-wise, but, you know, everybody wants to see Lakers, Warriors in the play-in, so it would be weird that this is not the first time that that's happened because it happened in 2021. But anyways, The one thing I would like to switch, and again, there's a chance that this happens. I want Nuggets at 1. That way, and again, the main reason I'm talking about this is we would have Warriors Lakers, the elimination game of the play-in. That means winner go home immediately for those two sides. And, I'm a Grizzlies fan. I say this almost every NBA-related video. I don't really care who wins that matchup. But I also think if neither team makes the playoffs, it makes a great case for them to make a major change in the offseason. And I think we're going to have to get to the offseason to get to like the LeBron topics. And I'm surprised it hasn't been talked about so much this year. But it's just like almost every year, except for the year the Lakers won the championship, the Lakers have been in the play-in or not made the playoffs. Now, it worked out for them a lot last year because they made the conference finals. They did get swept, but they made the conference finals, so you couldn't really be that negative about it. But it's just like at some point when you want a change, when you want things to be easier. And again, there's a chance that LeBron's a free agent. Again, I think we're going to have to wait till the offseason to get into those topics and get into like realistic destination changes. But I think immediate play-in loss to the Warriors would advocate that. Now, again, playing the Warriors side of things, this has been a terrible, like they could say it's been a good year, but they would be lying. It's just been very toxic, mainly from the Draymond situations, a little bit of the Clay situations. I want to give Clay, and again, I don't like talking positive about Clay because I'm a Grizzlies fan. He did that dig at Jaren a couple years ago. But there's a rumor. Now, I got the exact name. It was essentially saying that Clay could go to the Orlando Magic. I would very much like that, as I've been very positive on the Orlando Magic, and he would be a good fit there. Tim Kawani-Kami on Twitter says, one of the worst kept secrets in the league is that Orlando, loaded with young talent but not with shooters, might offer Clay a ton of money next summer. Gives him a veteran three-point shooter. Again, I know he's not what he once was, but on a different team, it might help. I would like that. I would very much like to see that change, and especially for Orlando because they're loaded with young talent, as the tweet freaking says, and it gives them a new player there that would help them out a lot on paper. So I would like to see that. But again, what I'm trying to advocate for is that the Warriors make a dramatic change as well, is the main thing I'm advocating. And I think loser of that matchup, Lakers-Warriors, would have to do that. Granted, might just be the same thing next year. That's something we'd have to talk about in the offseason, but it would speed the process up. Pelicans-Kings should be a great plan. But again, now getting to it. I want Nuggets-Kings. The easiest way for that to happen is actually more I'm trying to get to it. So, Nuggets at 1, Kings at 8. Let's just say Pelicans win the matchup, Timberwolves are at 2. I just think that's a crazy matchup, Timberwolves and Pelicans, because I don't know what to expect. I think last playoffs kind of like advocated that it's very much you don't know what to expect in the playoffs because the number 2 and 3 seed lost. Now, that's not always the best mindset to like look at these things as, but it's just like with the Timberwolves, I don't think anybody expected them to be the number 1 or top 3 seed. And when they've been in the playoffs the last 2 years, they were first-round exits. And, Rudy Gobert, I'll give credit, more than likely about to be a 4-time Defensive Player of the Year. But I think the Pelicans can expose a lot of defensive troubles. Maybe, maybe not. But I think that makes for a good matchup. And I'll give credit as well because I was very down on the Pelicans because I was like, they need to make a change. Granted, they did make a change. Zion ended up playing a lot more games than he normally does. So my criticism was somewhat answered. Can y'all get the rebound? Yes. But I made a whole video talk about wanting to see Pelican or Nuggets and Kings. We're so close to it potentially happening in the first round. A lot has to happen, though. Timberwolves, Pelicans, I think would be a crazy matchup. Thunder and Suns, ultimate revenge series. The Thunder have been waiting. Kevin Durant left them. It's kind of funny that Kevin Durant I'm playing against right now. But for the Suns, they just have had such a up and down, mainly down season because their new big three just, again, I can't really say it now because they've been playing a lot now, but if you were to go to the move they made in the offseason and said, yes, this is going to be a 6 seed, I don't think they would have expected that, and a lot of people wouldn't have expected that. But that's the case that they're in right now. And they don't have a lot of ways that they could change. And again, you don't expect this team to be a first-round exit. It's also the Thunder's, like, real first time in the playoffs with a majority of this roster. Shea's been in the playoffs before. Lou Dort's been in the playoffs before. Gordon Hayward's been in the playoffs before. But it's just like, as a whole, this team hasn't been in the playoffs. So, again, there's another case of advocating for the more experienced team has a chance to win. But the main point I was trying to get at is it's an ultimate revenge series for OKC because Kevin Durant did them dirty. They could finally, I wouldn't even say they did him dirty, but like could do him dirty. I'm just throwing out terms now. But you get the point. OKC beating Kevin Durant in the playoffs would make a lot of people happy. Lastly, for the West, Clippers, Mavericks, round 3. Now, this is kind of the most likely to happen because, like, the way that the schedule lines up for the rest of the season for these teams, like, these are the two teams that don't have the most, they're most likely not to change. But, again, we'll have to see with that. But they've played each other twice in the playoffs before, in which Luka was going crazy against the Clippers, but essentially had no help. And I'm saying that in quotations because the second time around he did have Porzingis. He just did not, play well. But now he has Kyrie, which again is funny because he's on the court right now. He has PJ White. He has such a great roster behind him. Again, you can say this about almost every Luka year, I guess except for his rookie year, but he's just like, you can say this is his best year ever, best year. You can say that. With the Clippers, I will go out and say it because my Grizzlies have been eliminated, but I want the Clippers to win the title. I want Russell Westbrook to end up with a championship. I would like it if James Harden and Paul George got a championship. Kawhi Leonard, a third championship with a third team. Now, I will say this might sound crazy, but it's like there's no guarantee he ends up with Finals MVP, so you can't say a third Finals MVP with a third team, but there's a good chance of it. But the thing that sucks is they have not been playing well as of late since Westbrook's been back. They've been winning games, but it hasn't been playoff basketball. And again, they got robbed last year because freaking Paul George got hurt at the very end, and then Kawhi Leonard got injured in the playoffs, and it was Russell Westbrook by himself doing very good, but it was just he couldn't really do much. Yeah, I'm rooting for the Clippers. I'll go ahead and say it. Just hopefully it doesn't bite me in the ass. I hate that I had to throw that term out there, but that's how very much I'm feeling. Now, Eastern Conference. Almost the same discussions. 1 seed, Celtics by a large margin. The 8th seed, the 70s, almost the 76ers. The Miami Heat. Now, these teams have faced each other in the playoffs 2020, 22, and 23, with the Heat getting the upper hand 2-1. The Celtics should be wanting the Heat to get rid of that bad JoJo of losing last year. They've lost to them in 20. For discussion of this, I'm going to at least acknowledge the Heat beat them in 2020, but like in terms of this discussion, I'm looking at it as a trilogy, and they're 1-1. But again, I didn't forget about 2020. But the Celtics need, I'm not going to say they need it, but it would be a major boost to them because they're always a great regular season team. But for some reason, once we get to the playoffs, they just start doing stupid stuff. Like, you could very much say, especially after Game 7, that 76er series should not have went to Game 7, especially with how that series ended. But it did. And they made that more difficult than they had to. Now, again, this is a different roster. A lot of mainly different. I'm going to restart this. I don't like how it was going. But it's a mainly different roster. If you can get rid of the Heat, who you went to 2 Game 7s back-to-back years against, if you can, prove right away, round 1, which you're typically very good in round 1, if you can prove right away, get rid of them, do it. Freaking do it. But for the Heat, and I'm mainly looking at it from the standpoint of the Heat losing, because they're the 8th seed. Again, it's kind of funny because they were last year. But they've had this thought process the last 2 years that we essentially just need to make the playoffs, and then that's when we'll try and have a very good team and make the moves that people want to see. Where if they get eliminated in the first round, we need to change our thought process. We need to re-evaluate things. And again, a first round exit to a team you beat last year, I think would be an advocate for that. But if they win, again, it's a slightly better roster than last year, so it should make for a slightly better, enjoying experience. But Caleb Martin, we have not talked about as much as we did in last year's playoffs. Max Strus and Max Strus and Gabe Vince. I want to say who's the other guy, and the only reason I said who was Gabe Vince is because he ain't played a lot this year, so I can at least say that. But it's just like it can give the reason for the Heat to change that would make the NBA fans and I guess their fan base a little bit happy. And it's funny because I've seen like a handful of tweets saying which team thinks they're going to win in the playoffs but have no chance, and almost all the answers were the Heat. There's a little bit of Timberwolves, but it was mainly the Heat. Next, at 2-7, a different playoff matchup. Bucks and Sixers. And it's weird because, like, these teams have been consistently in the playoffs, and the fact that they haven't crossed paths is extremely interesting. But, like, getting it now with you have 2 MVPs in Giannis Antetokounmpo and Joel Embiid. I think the 76ers, it's been a weird year for them. You can say that about almost every year for them. But it's just like the Embiid injury kind of derailed things. Not having extra help for Embiid except for Maxey until the Harden trade. Because, like, the way the Harden situation started this season for them is just like I haven't really known what to expect from him. It was mainly let's just have a good year and make the playoffs and see what happens there, and then we'll make some dramatic changes in the offseason. It's kind of how I feel. But it's just like the way the Bucks are playing, don't know why they fired Mike Budenholzer. I kind of understand why they fired Mike Budenholzer. They're just like, let's just get to a new start. Why they fired AJ Griffin, we'll find out in the future. Adrian Griffin. I just called him AJ Griffin because that's his son. But hiring Doc Rivers, which, again, I don't really know who this would be. I would be a Doc Rivers revenge series, but it's Doc Rivers. I don't know if you can, like, really trust him to, like, play and coach like it's a revenge series. But moral of the story. It's a fresh playoff matchup against 2 MVPs, and the Sixers have a great chance of winning, even though they are a lower seed and we be in the play-in, and would make for a great play-in matchup against Sixers and Bucks. And again, there's a slight chance that the Heat win that play-in matchup as a way to see. And again, it would kind of be refreshing for the Sixers to win that, and they kind of get rid of that mojo because they lost to the Heat in the playoffs. Bro, I had already jumped and landed before he jumped into me and shot that. So, I know I didn't talk about that for the Western Conference, but it's just like, I'm talking about how I want the playoffs to play out. Because, again, when I get to talk about this next week, things would be talking about the matchups that are actually going on. So, that's why I'm doing these hypothetical ones now. Because, again, there's a great chance. We got a week left. Less than a week now. All this could not matter in that time period. So that's why I'm talking about the things I want to see. Magic and Pacers. Now, the Pacers have not been as good as they were. Benedict Mathurin has been out. Tyrese has been very up and down. But for the case of the Pacers and Magic, it's neither one of these teams made the playoffs last year. So it's a battle of the 2 new teams. And again, making the playoffs should be a major feather in their cap for either side. But winning and making it out of the first round would be even better. And again, like I said, it's a battle of the new playoff teams. And again, they've made the playoffs before in the recent years, but a lot of those like players that were on the teams aren't there anymore. Like for the Magic, Vucevic ain't there, Aaron Gordon ain't there, Evan Fournier ain't there. A lot of like the teams that 2020. I think Markelle Fultz and Jonathan Isaac are probably the only guys that carry over from that. For the Pacers, Victor Oladipo ain't there. Malcolm Brogdon ain't there. Domantas Sabonis ain't there. The only like carryover I can think of is T.J. McConnell and Miles Turner. And if there's like somebody that was on both those rosters, I apologize, but you get the point I'm making. It's just like it's a new era for these teams and would make for a good playoff matchup. Because again, I don't know who would expect to. Don't know who I'd expect to win that. Makes for a good matchup. Last matchup, Knicks and Cavs. I should also mention I did write down that the Magic, Knicks, and Cavs all have 46 wins. But I'd be very, very concerned for the either side, mainly the Cavaliers, because all year, and essentially since Donovan Mitchell has landed with the team, we've heard, oh, he doesn't want to be there. The moment he gets to leave, he will. And again, they've had a majority good year, but now we're at the point where it matters most, and what happens now is what will be talked about, and just has not been the best in that time frame. But I very much would root for the Cavs, even though the Knicks improved their roster a lot from last year. And the funny thing about that is they beat the Cavs last year, who mainly have the same roster. So it's a bit concerning for the Cavaliers. For the Knicks, I know that will be without Julius Randle, but it's just like they're still a dominant and, again, like I said, improved team from last year. I will also say last year's series involving these two teams was not the most prettiest. It was offensively, at least. Defensively, if you enjoy the defense, which I do, but it's just like there's very little offense is the moral of that story. But it's just like this is a must-win for the Cavs this series, because if not, the Donovan Mitchell discussion gets more crazier and more toxic than it needs to be. The Knicks, I think of course their fan base wants to win, but it's just like there's a chance that they don't, and then they're going to go crazy about it, which I slightly understand, but it would be interesting to say the least. But like I said, we're a week away from. I'm trying to think. Let me look up the exact play-in date, because I'm fairly certain. The main reason I'm talking is I would definitely do Shooting the Breeze play-in playoff predictions next Tuesday, because I think play-in April 16th is the first date, which is next Tuesday. So that's the main reason. So the main reason I was doing this and discussing this is I got on NBA 2K, and it's kind of a bit weird to do a whole Shooting the Breeze and not talk about NBA while I'm playing it, but it made sense. And B, this is the last time I get to talk about the regular season related stuff, because next time around will be playoff stuff. So WrestleMania 34, or why did I say 30? I can't say 34 because it's episode 34, but WrestleMania 40, 2 thumbs up, very little to complain about. NBA regular season coming to a dramatic end, but the play-in and playoffs are going to be crazy. That's what we'll talk about next time. Like I said, next episode of Shooting the Breeze, next Tuesday, could be, wrestling related. There's something that might or might not happen Wednesday that I might have to discuss. SmackDown should be a big episode, so I might have to cover a little bit of that then. But till then, I plan on doing a Supersonics episode between then, so check that out. Thank y'all for watching this. Hopefully you like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.